Hello, everyone. Welcome to the APH Virtual Excel Academy. Today, we are Up, and Away, your guide to air travel. This is meant for our little bit older kids, kind of middle and high school, but everyone is welcome. Doesn't matter how old you are. Again, welcome to the APH Virtual Excel Academy. Today is Up, and Away, your guide to airline travel. Feel free to drop your name in the chat. Say hi. I love seeing our friends who come to join us live. This also will be recorded and we might be seeing you on YouTube. One more time, today is the APH Virtual Excel Academy. Up, and Away, your guide to airline travel. Today, we have a special guest with us. Her name is Kaelen Penrod. Hi, Kaelen. How are you?
I'm doing great. How is everyone here today?
I'm doing well. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Alrighty. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard, as we say, to part one of Up, and Away, your guide to airline travel. Again, my name is Kaelen, and I'm a flight attendant with a U.S. airline. That's an airline based in the U.S. I travel all over the country for my job, and I'm incredibly happy to talk to all of you guys today about air travel. So I'll just say right now, I know that the time this video comes out and the time that you're watching, travel is a little different right now, just with everything going on. But today I'm going to talk to you guys as if the world was normal, because hopefully it will be soon. And if we have any specific questions about travel right now, we can ask them at the end. But everything I'm going to talk to you guys about today is based on traveling at a normal time, which hopefully will be soon. So I want to start by giving everyone a quick list of words and just to ask what they make you think of. Okay, so I'll start the list now. So the first word is United, and then American, Spirit, Alaska, Delta, Southwest, JetBlue, Frontier. So is anyone familiar with any of these words, and what do they make you think of?
We'll let their brains get going.
Yeah. Those words are all kind of different. They all might seem a little bit random. Monica says she thinks they are airlines. That is excellent. That is correct. Those are all airlines. Those are all the names of airlines that are based here in the United States. There's even more than that. There's a lot of smaller ones I didn't mention. There's also tons of airlines, dozens of airlines that are based in other countries around the world. And a lot of them are very different. They're a little bit different in how they sell their tickets. They might be a little bit different in where they fly to, all the different places they fly to. Maybe they have different colors as far as what their employees wear. Monica says, oh, she has flown on Delta before. Zach says planes. Yeah, they all are planes. They all are airlines that have planes. That's their business. That's how they carry people, because it's a form of transportation. One thing that pretty much makes all airlines the same in the US, however, is they are all governed by the FAA, and that stands for the Federal Aviation Administration. That's a government agency that regulates all the airlines to make sure everything is safe, to make sure everything is done correctly so everyone can fly safely and at a rate at different places. One other thing about airlines that is all the same is they have pilots and they also have flight attendants. That is a requirement. Every airline has to have pilots. Obviously, every airline has to have flight attendants. And all the safety features are mostly the same, and all the ways that you interact with employees are much basically the same. So we're going to talk about ways to interact with airlines today that is going to be pretty much the same no matter which airline you decide to fly on. Okay. Next question that I want everybody to kind of think about for a minute is, I want everyone to think about all the different types of travel that we have available to us today in the modern world. We have a lot of different types. So I want you to think about how is air travel, how is traveling on an airplane with an airline different from any other kind of travel? So we have other examples other than airplanes might be boats, might be cars, might be the bus or the train or other forms of transportation, or it might be just walking or taking a bicycle. So what about air travel is different from any other kind of travel? Yeah, cars, bus, train, walking. Zachary says, so he can't be the navigator like he is in the car. That's totally correct. When you're in the airplane, you don't really decide where the plane goes. The pilot does. You purchase a ticket for a specific destination, so that's where you'll end up, but you're not driving the plane at all. You're just chilling, you're just a passenger, a little bit like riding the bus or even like taking a taxi. You're sitting there, you decide where to go, but you're not the driver, you're not the navigator. Okay, Monica says something that's the same is many people can travel at one time with a lot of sitting. Definitely with a lot of sitting. That's pretty much the only thing you can do in a plane. You really can't do anything but sit and chill, but that's okay. Yeah, pretty good. Zachary says the seatbelt is different. The seatbelt is a little bit different. The seatbelt in an airplane actually looks a little bit like seatbelts used to look. It kind of looks like an old-fashioned car seatbelt. But car seatbelts are pretty different from air seatbelts nowadays. Yeah. One big thing I would say is you can't just walk out of your house onto an airplane. Definitely can't do it. There's no airplanes on every corner. There's no airports on every corner. Generally, you can't take the bus to the door of an airplane. Generally, you can't drive to the door of the airplane. So what you have to do in order to get on the airplane is get to an airport first, navigate the whole airport first, get to your gate, and then get on a plane.
Hey, Kaelen.
Yes.
This is Robin coming in. I see that Isabel has her hand up. So, Isabel, we have given you permission to talk. So,
all right, Isabel, go ahead.
Hit spacebar and chime on in.
Hello.
Hi, Isabel.
I was having some audio problems, so I had to fix those.
Isabel, are you there?
Yes.
You said you were having audio problems, Isabel?
Yes.
Okay, you know what?
While we wait for Elizabeth to pop in, Monica says that on an airplane she gets her own TV to watch things. That's on some airlines and some airplanes. That is true.
Kaelen, can you hear us?
Let's see. Clara says cars cannot fly. Also very true.
I don't know if she can hear us. Kaelen, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Robin, I cannot quite hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody. We are having technical difficulties.
Same with me. I had some technical difficulties too.
It could just be that day with Zoom sometime.
So, Isabel, if you leave and come right back into the Zoom, that is probably the easiest fix. And
that's what I did.
You did? Okay, great. So we're going to mute you back up and just check on Kaelen and get her going. And I think she is also troubleshooting.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, we'll just do that one.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can now.
We are all good. Kaelen is back in action. Thank you, Isabel, for letting us know about that.
All right, sorry about that, guys. But main point that I want to get at here is that with an airplane, with flying with air travel, it really helps to plan ahead. And that is one of the biggest things that I think is different about traveling on an airplane versus traveling on anyone else is you really have to plan ahead because you're going to be in a big metal tube flying through the air at hundreds of miles an hour for several hours and you can't get off. If you're driving in a car and you're like, oh no, I forgot this at home, you can like turn around and drive home. If you're on the bus and you're like, oh man, I'm hungry, you can get off and go to snack. When you're on an airplane, you're stuck in there until we land. So it's really, really important to plan ahead. All right, so can anyone think about for a real quick, what are some ways that we can plan ahead for air travel? Even if you've never flown before, if you know that you're going to be stuck in a big metal tube for about a couple hours, depending on how long your flight is, what are some ways that you can plan ahead? Think about the fact that the airport might be really far from where you live. It might be kind of close, or it might be really far. How will you get there? What do you need to bring? How early do you have to wake up, maybe? So one of the things to think about, so Zach says he's only been on a plane a few times. Hey, that's great. A lot of people only have been on a plane a few times. I meet people all the time, and sometimes they're older, sometimes they're grandmas and grandpas, and they haven't, that's their first time on the plane when I'm talking to them. Donnie says 9 a.m. Yeah, if you have a flight, maybe it depends on but really 9 a.m., that depends on how far away the airport is, depends on when your flight is, when your plane's going to depart. So 9 a.m. might be good if you live an hour from the airport and your flight leaves at maybe noon. That might be a good time. 9 a.m. is a good time to leave. Mana says a good way to prepare for travel is to make a packing list. That is an excellent, excellent thing to talk about. And we'll get to that in a second. And Monica says she packed all of her stuff the day before. That is an excellent idea. I do that with my job. I often pack my stuff the day before. So a good thing to plan is how you're going to get there. Good to know where the airport is. That's a good thing to look up on something like Google Maps. Look about how you're going to get there. So maybe you can take public transportation. Maybe you can take a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft there. Maybe you are going to ask a friend for a ride, which is great. It's great if we have friends who will drive us to the airport. But if the airport is far away and if your flight's early in the morning, do you want to ask your friends to take you to the airport early in the morning? And let's say morning? Probably not. We probably want to ask our friends a couple of days before or a week before if that's something they can do for us. Because it's kind of a big trip. It's not really like going down to the store. Okay. And Donnie says to take DART. I think DART's probably another form of public transportation. And a lot of airports are built and public transportation is built in a way that public transportation will bring you right to the airport, which is great. There are a lot of airports that have that. And there are also a lot of airports that don't have that at all. So it's really good to do your research and figure out how to get to the airport before the day you need to get to the airport. Okay, one thing that you, as a person with a vision impairment, a person who is blind, one thing that is really good for anyone who might need it to do is to request assistance at the airport. You can do this a couple of ways. You can do this when you purchase your ticket, either online or on the phone. You can do it a couple days before and you can call the airport and request assistance, or you can do it even just when you get to the airport. It's free for anyone who wants to use it. And what it is just someone will come and meet you when you arrive, and they'll walk with you to the airport, through the whole airport to your gate to make sure that you get to the right place. It doesn't really cost you anything, and you don't have to use it if you're traveling with friends, but it's a really good resource for getting through a place that you don't know, and it's a resource that pretty much every airport will have for you. Now, one thing that you probably would need to know about the employees who work as airport assistants is that they really don't get any sort of specific training on how to interact with anyone who's blind. They might not know the questions to ask to get you the information that you need. So when you request airport assistance, when you get to the airport and the airport assistant comes up and says, "Oh, hi, my name is Bob and I'm here to take you to your gate," this is a really good time to advocate for yourself and to ask for the things that you specifically need, because they really don't get a lot of training on how to do anything like sighted guide, how to interact with anyone who uses a cane. It's just not something that really gets talked about very much in their training. So that's a really good time to be very specific about telling them about what you need as a blind person, and being very specific about how you'd like to be helped. I want to go back to what Monica said about a packing list, which is an excellent idea. We should definitely make a packing list. I do want to talk a little bit about packing and about the kinds of bags that you can take on a plane. Because if you're traveling like in a car, you can kind of take as many bags as you want. You just throw them in the trunk, super easy. But if you're going to go on a plane, there are some really specific rules about packing that I want to talk about, and it's kind of important. So the first thing I want to do is do a little bit of a screen share with you guys. First thing I want to do is talk about the 3 different places that you can store your luggage on the plane, okay? So there are 3 places. The first one is underneath the seat in front of you. And if you look in the top left corner of your screen here, you can see that there is a guy pushing a blue backpack underneath an airplane seat. And we'll look at some pictures of airplane seats later. But right now, just so you can kind of get a better idea of what they look like. But right now, in the top left corner of your screen, you can see there's a person. He's got brown shoes, and he's sitting down. He's pushing a blue backpack underneath the seat in front of him. The second place you can put your bags on a plane is the overhead bin. And so if you look to the right side of your screen, you can see a lot of the very tops of suitcases. They're in what we call the overhead bin. This is, you can see that it's called the overhead bin because it's over the heads of all the people who are sitting in their seats. And you can see in the very side, the very left side of that picture that's on the right side of your screen, there's someone who's putting a kind of an orange bag in the bin. And then the third place is the airplane, in the airplane cargo. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there's a bunch of really big looking suitcases. They're on the outside of the airplane and they're going into the bottom of the airplane. And that's the space for your checked luggage, all right? And we'll go through all these different luggage sizes here in a second. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about real quick is the personal item. So you can see here, I've got 3 different pictures. They all show different examples of personal items. So your personal item is something smallish like a purse, a backpack, a laptop bag. You can see on the left-hand picture, there is a person holding a pretty regular sized laptop bag. That would easily fit underneath the seat in front of you. The picture in the middle shows a woman holding or carrying a kind of smallish backpack, so not a huge like backpacking backpack that you take camping with you, a regular size backpack. Or the picture on the right, this person kind of has a slightly larger purse, but it's regular size. It's not a huge big duffel bag. That'll fit underneath the seat in front of you. The second item, remember we talked about the thing that goes in the overhead bin, is the carry-on, and that's kind of a regular size suitcase. So I've got 2 different examples. You can see the carry-on's not super big. It's big enough to fit maybe like a couple days of clothes, even a week's worth of clothes if you want to go that route. It's maybe a little bit taller than the knee. It has both of these suitcases have wheels. You don't have to have wheels on your suitcase if you don't want to. That's okay. But I do recommend it. You can see in the picture on the right-hand side, this gentleman or person has a suitcase with wheels, and then he has a very similar size one that's hanging off his shoulder. It's kind of a duffel bag. So that big one that's hanging off his shoulder, it looks kind of like he's carrying it like a personal item or like a purse or like a smaller bag, but it's not. It's a big carry-on bag size. That's going to go in the overhead bin, even though it doesn't have wheels. I do recommend, if you're going to carry anything other than a personal item, I do recommend that it has wheels, because sometimes airports are really big. Maybe you live next to a small airport and you can just walk in, no big deal. But some airports are really, really big, and you have to walk a really, really long time to get to the place where your specific airplane is. And you're going to get really tired and really sweaty really quick if you're carrying a big, heavy bag through the airport on just your shoulders. So you can do that if you want to, but I do recommend a bag with wheels if you're going to bring anything bigger than a personal item. The third size that I want to talk about is the checked bag. and that's these big guys right here. So right here in the photo, you see we have a family. Their backs are turned to us so we can kind of see all of their luggage and stuff. You can see they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big suitcases. They each have a little backpack on, so they each have one personal item, which is that's how it should go. And you can see the person way on the left here has a big checked bag and a very small, probably regular size carry-on. So all of these big checked bags, the big suitcases that they have, these will not fit in the overhead bin, and they'll definitely won't fit underneath the seat in front of you. Those are the bags that go underneath the airplane. And you don't have to bring a checked bag. If you're bringing a lot of clothes and you want to, that's fine. But those do not come on the plane with you. Those will get checked in when you arrive at the airport. And I wanted, let's see. Those will get checked in when you arrive at the airport. So when you check in, I want to talk a little bit about that. What do you guys think that it means to check in? I'm going to come back to a regular screen share. There we go. All right. Want to ask really quick, what do you guys think it means to check in? What does it mean when someone else says to you, when you're not traveling, in a non-related sense, and they say, oh, I'm going to check in. I'm going to check in with you, or hey, check in with me later. What does that really mean? Okay, Zach says, oh, that's when he gets his ticket. Yeah, totally. You can totally get it. Monica says she thinks it's when you tell the airport that you are there. Yes. Donnie says, tell them where you want to go. Yeah. Usually you tell them where you want to go when you buy your ticket, because you buy it for a specific place, because you don't want to buy a ticket for the wrong place. But yeah, Monica, you are completely correct. Monica thinks it's when you tell the airport that you are there. That's pretty much it. It's going to the airport or doing it online, which I recommend. But it's basically saying, I am here. I am ready to travel. I am ready to go. So you can check in at the airport when you arrive at the airport for your flight, and you can check in up to 24 hours before your flight, which is what I recommend, because you can do it online and it's super easy. And then you don't even have to go to the counter if you don't have a checked bag. So if you have a checked bag and you're like, oh my God, I'm going on a big, huge vacation for like a month and I have a big suitcase that I got to take with me, then you have to bring it to the front of the airport when you arrive, and they'll scan it and they'll put it on a conveyor belt, and that'll take it to the outside of the plane for you. So you don't have to do that, which is really nice. But if you don't, if you're like, I'm going on a short trip, it's like a week-long trip, I just have my personal item and I've got my carry-on, then you don't even have to do that. You can check in online and you can go straight to the TSA checkpoint. Okay. So remember, we planned ahead. We arrived at the airport a couple hours early because we don't want to get stuck at the TSA checkpoint. So the TSA checkpoint, TSA stands for the Transportation Security Administration, and that is the same at all airports no matter where you go. They all wear the same thing. And so I'm going to do a quick little screen share again so we can see what they look like. They all look like this. So these are TSA agents. They're agents from the Transportation Security Administration. They all wear this kind of a royal blue, this kind of like bright blue shirt, and it's always a collared shirt with pockets. They always have a badge. You can see these two people are both wearing badges on their left-hand side breast pocket right above it, and they have on black pants, and sometimes a lot of the times they do wear ties. So this is what they always look like no matter what airport you go to in the United States, okay? So the TSA checkpoint is a place that you have to go through to get all of your items scanned, and sometimes your body scanned. They have big body scanners by computers that can look to see if you have anything dangerous in your bag. Most people don't. But it's really important place, and you have to go through a TSA checkpoint every time you fly. So sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes if you go to a small airport, if you go to the airport on a really busy day, sometimes going through a TSA checkpoint is pretty easy. There's not many people in line. There's a lot of officers for you. Sometimes, though, it looks like this. It looks crazy. And I know there's a lot going on in this photo. We don't have to worry about everything. You can kind of see that there's some TSA officers. They're all wearing the same shirt. There's a lot of passengers. They're all wearing different things. But it is crazy. And sometimes maybe a bunch of the TSA officers, the TSA agents, maybe they call in sick. Let's see. Zach says, oh, like what if my cane is metal? Yeah, so that's one thing that they can check. And you can still bring metal things through these scanners. That's totally fine. But they might want to check it. So is that a good thing to have in the bottom of your suitcase? Probably not, because then you're not even using it anyway. But that's okay. No, so you probably just want to have it with you. So you can say, hey, this is my cane. I use it to help me see. I use it to help me get around. And usually they'll look at it. A lot of times the TSA officers will have some experience with that. Sometimes, not always. But you can be like, here, this is my cane. Monica says they used a metal wand to check her cane. Wasn't scary at all. Yeah, it's not scary at all, especially if you are not scared. They can use a metal detector to check your cane and any other things that you might be carrying with you, but it's not a good idea to put them in the bottom of your carry-on suitcase, because then you get to the scanner, they scan your suitcase, and they say, what's here in the bottom of your suitcase? And then you have to dig through it, and everyone has to see your underwear, and it's not a fun time. So, Monica says that she told them that she needed her cane right back when they scanned it. So that's another good way to advocate for yourself. If you need your cane right back, you can tell them. You can say, this is a device that I need to use. I need it to walk around and I need it to see. And you can ask them to give it right back to you. Super easy. TSA is not scary, but it can take a very long time. So that's why you should arrive at the airport. They recommend about 2 hours early, just so you can make sure you have enough time to check any bags that you have, meaning you give your big checked baggage to the ticket counter so they can put it on the conveyor belt and take it out to the plane for you. You have enough time to get through TSA, and then you have enough time to do that super, 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 super long walk with your luggage to your plane. Donnie wants to ask, how long does TSA take? It really depends. It really depends on the airport. It really depends on if it's like holiday travel or not. It depends on if there's a lot of TSA officers who are there that day, because if there's a bunch of them calling sick, then there's only a couple to do one line, so they can't do a bunch of lines for you. They can only do maybe one. TSA really depends. I've had, in instances when I've traveled, I've had TSA take 10 minutes. I've had it take almost an hour. It really depends. So you want to give yourself enough time, no matter what, in order to get through TSA, because the airplane will not wait for you. If you miss your flight, if you say, oh, my flight's at 6 a.m., so I get to TSA at 5:30, and they say, oh, sorry, the line is 2,000 people long, the airplane's not going to wait for you. It's going to leave you. And that's really sad. And that kind of messes up all your vacation plans. Okay, so you made it through TSA. We're going to move into part 3. You made it through TSA. You have all your stuff. You double check to make sure you've got all of your important things. You got your cane, you got your bag, you got your personal item, and you are on your way to the gate, which is where you will find your aircraft. And so the special assistants who are at the airports for you, they will walk you all the way to the plane. And if you want, they will even stay with you until it's time for you to board your plane. And that's great. And they'll come with you through TSA. They go through TSA all the time. They'll be with you the whole time if you want them to. So you get to your gate, which will usually it'll usually have either a letter or a number. They'll be able to help you take you there. And we'll get to that more in part 2. And then you are, they'll announce that your flight is boarding. So if you're going to Orlando, because you're going to go to Disney World, they say, okay, flight Orlando is boarding. Here we go. And usually they'll announce that anyone with disabilities or anyone who requires special assistance will have the opportunity to board first. So if you want to, you can absolutely take advantage of that. And that will give you the opportunity to board a little bit ahead of all the big crowd, because some airplanes are pretty big. Some airplanes have 200 people on them. Some airplanes are really small, but you know, sometimes they have a ton of people already on the plane. So this will allow you to board a little bit early and take your time in getting down to the plane, because there's a big long hallway that goes to the plane. And that is a really good time to ask questions of the flight attendants. So you get down the plane, and that's where you run into people like me. So I want to ask another question. I want to give you another group of words to think about. And the group of words starts like this. First word is, or the first phrase is, air hostess. The second word, or the second phrase, is flight attendant. Next one is stewardess. And the next phrase is cabin crew. So I want you guys to think about all of those words real quick, just for a minute. So we have air hostess, flight attendant, stewardess, and cabin crew. Which of those 4 titles do you think is the more modern and the more preferred title for people who do my job? Which do you think is more modern, more up to date, the terms that are used a lot more often today? Monica, she says she laughed at air hostess. Yeah, I laugh at air hostess too. It sounds kind of silly. Zach says he thinks flight attendant is the most modern. Monica, yeah, Monica's got flight attendant. Donnie says all of them. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you might have heard one of your older relatives, maybe your grandpa, maybe someone who hasn't traveled in a while, you might have heard someone use the word stewardess, or you might have heard someone use the term air hostess, or they might even be someone who's your age use the term stewardess. And that's okay, but the term stewardess and the term air hostess are pretty outdated, and the fact that they end in ESS kind of indicates that it's only women. Do you guys think that only women can be flight attendants these days? Do you think it's only women? Do you think if you get on a plane and you look at all the flight attendants there, do you think they're all going to be women every single time? Donnie says, yep. Oh, Clara, welcome Clara. Clara says, no, that is correct. Anyone can be a flight attendant. You don't have to be a woman to be a flight attendant. You can be a woman or a man. It doesn't really matter. You just have to want to do the job. So there are male flight attendants and there are female flight attendants. So using a word like stewardess or even a word like air hostess is fine, but it's kind of an old term. So the best way to talk to someone who does my job is usually flight attendant, or you can say the cabin crew. And the cabin crew indicates an entire crew of people who are working on the plane. So it might be, depending on it, the number of flight attendants really just depends on how many people, how many passengers there are. Welcome Alondra. Alondra says also no. So basically no to the same questions. Are flight attendants required to be women? Definitely not. Anyone can be a flight attendant. There are tons of male flight attendants out there. The number of flight attendants depends on how many passengers. So depending on how big your plane is and depending on how many passengers are on it, there can be anywhere from 1 to maybe 5 flight attendants if you're on a regular domestic flight, which is a flight going between 2 destinations in the US or in any one country. Or there might be up to like 20 flight attendants if you're on one of those really big planes because you're flying across the ocean or if you're flying like a very, very long distance. So that's cool. My job has 2 different parts. So the first part is the one that you would probably think of, the one that probably most people think of when they hear about flight attendants, and it's the customer service. It's the bringing you treats and beverages, helping people find their seat, answering questions about the flight, giving out earbuds and stuff like that. We totally do that. But that is only one part of the job. The second part of the job is doing safety. So I went to training for 4 weeks as a flight attendant. Some airlines have training for even longer. And the majority of that training is talking about safety and what to do if anything not great happens on your flight. So when I went to training, I learned how to deal with people when they're having a heart attack, learned how to deal with people who faint. We learned how to put out fires, how to defend the flight deck, looking out for people who might be intoxicated, looking out for human trafficking, dealing with evacuating the plane in the event of an emergency, so getting everybody out of the plane as soon as possible, deploying emergency slides, lots and lots of things that we go to training for. Donnie, I saw that you've got a question. I'll get back to that in just a second. One of the things that we don't talk about in training, though, kind of similar to the airport assistant, is one of the things we really don't talk about very much is the same thing, how to interact with people who have a disability, and especially how to interact with people who are blind. And it's really mostly in my training, it was like maybe half a day, and we spent most of the time talking about people who use wheelchairs. So a lot of flight attendants, they're going to do their best to help you get what you need, but this is also a really, really, really good time to advocate for yourself and to tell the flight attendants what you need, because a lot of times they might not even know the right questions to ask you to ask, or they might not even consider what information you would need if you don't have your sight, or if you can't see very well. So typically they'll announce boarding. You'll be able to board within the first group of people. You can say hi when you get there. Let me do a quick little screen share. Once again, so you walk down, you're walking on the plane, and I'm going to show you first. Oh, let me rewind a little bit. So I want to show you some pictures of some flight attendants so you can get a good look of what flight attendants generally look like. On your screen right now, you will see 2 flight attendants. They work for United Airlines. So you can see what they're wearing is professional clothes. They're wearing little scarves. Their hair is kind of pulled back. Her hair is a little crazy because she's outside and it's probably windy, but their hair is pulled back. You can see that they're both wearing scarves. We've got a scarf here and a scarf here. And you can see they're both wearing flight attendant wings. Okay, so you can see this woman's wings pretty clearly. They're right here on her left breast pocket. This woman is also wearing, but they're kind of very small. These are flight attendants from Alaska Airlines. They've got still kind of the same thing. The uniform is different because they work for a different airline, but they are professionally dressed. You can see this lady has a scarf. This lady here has a scarf. And then you can't really see on the women, but you can see this gentleman is also a flight attendant, and he's wearing also professional clothes. He's got a tie, he's got a nice jacket, and he's also wearing a pair of flight attendant wings. And this is just a little pin that pins on your clothes, but it looks like a little pair of wings. And we'll get to some pictures of that in a second. These are some flight attendants from Southwest Airlines. You can see that they're all still wearing professional clothes. We got this guy, he's got a collared shirt. This woman's wearing a nice sweater and her dress underneath. This gentleman's got his tie and his vest. And you can see these flight attendants don't wear scarves. He's got a tie, but this flight attendant's not wearing a scarf because it's not a required part of their uniform. And that's okay, they're not always wearing a scarf, but they are wearing flight attendant wings. And I've circled them here in yellow so you can see where they are. And we'll get to a close-up here. So this is a close-up of some flight attendant wings. This is for Southwest in the top left-hand corner. This one here at the bottom is for American in the bottom right-hand corner. So they look a little bit different, and they don't always have the pointy wings. Sometimes they do, but it's usually a name tag or an indicator on the left-hand side. And I don't know if you guys can see me, but I also have my wings on. So this might be mirrored in the chat, but I also have mine on, and I have a second pair that I can show you here just to see. Get a little bit of a glare. So it's just a pin, it's pointing at the end, but all cabin crew have a pair of wings right here. I also have my scarf on. It's a different color, then a little bit different print than the ones that I showed you, but that's because I work for a different airline. I work for an airline called Frontier, and I can show you one more These are some other flight attendants from my airline, so you can see the same thing. She's got her scarf, she's got her professional dress on, it's the same as mine. And he's got his vest, he's got his nice tie, and he has his wings. Oops, he has his wings right here. And so all flight attendants will have wings. And that's a good thing to know about flight attendants, is they all kind of they will all wear professional clothes. They'll all might have a scarf, might not, but they all have wings. And so that's a good thing to differentiate the flight attendant from everyone else on your flight. Because airplanes, they're kind of squished, they're kind of small, and you might not know who to ask a question if you don't know what they look like. Monica says, it looks like the scarves are popular. They absolutely are. A lot of flight attendants wear scarves. And it's fun. And then Alondra also has a question. It says, why are scarves required if the flight attendants are on the plane? It's just a part of the uniform. And actually, flight attendants have been wearing scarves for a long time because I think that was a popular item to wear for everyone in like the 50s maybe. Or when flying for leisure, flying for pleasure became something that a lot of people were able to do because it got cheaper. So it's not a required for like any actual specific purpose except to look fancy and to kind of identify yourself as a flight attendant. And even now, some airlines don't require them because it looks old-timey and old-fashioned, but I feel like it's a good way for people to identify me. Donnie asks, why do planes use earbuds? I'm going to get to that here in just a second. All right, so I'm going to do another screen share because you have boarded the plane, you have said hello to the flight attendants or in the front, and you are about to go find your seat. Now, pretty much all airlines have assigned seats. Some airlines don't, one or two don't. Southwest Airlines generally does not have assigned seats, but pretty much all other airlines in the United States assign you a seat. This is a picture of what the plane looks like, what the seats look like from above, and I'm going to zoom in real quick so we can see. So we come down the jet bridge. We follow this arrow here. We say hello to the flight attendants who are usually standing about right here. They say hello, welcome aboard. You say, hi, my name is Kaelen. And then you go to find your seat. So the flight attendants here, it's a good idea to maybe ask. If you're having trouble reading your ticket, you can say, what's my seat assignment? And they can tell you. So they can say, oh, my seat assignment is 6A. So I'm going to go find row 6. All seat assignments usually have a row number. So a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then they have a seat letter. So you can see the seat letters here are A, B, C, D, E, F. You got A and F on the outsides, that's the window. And you have C and D on the insides, that's the aisle. And when you come down, now it looks like A, B, C on the left and D, E, F on the right as you're looking at the airplane, but when you're coming down this way, you're facing towards the back of the plane. You're going all the way down this way. Is it A, B, C? Is that still going to be on your left-hand side as you're going down the plane? It looks like it's on the left now because we're looking down on the plane. And it looks like DEF is on the right, but if you're coming in and you're facing the same way this arrow is facing and you're walking all the way down, ABC is going to look like it's on your right-hand side, and DEF is going to look like it's on your left-hand side. It's a little confusing, but that is one of the many reasons that the flight attendants are there. So they say, oh, your seat assignment is 6A. So you count and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down row 6, and you go to seat A, which is the window right here, okay? So when you get to your seat, you might get a personal briefing from the flight attendant. So this is what the seat looks like. You can see they're kind of small, they're kind of cramped. We'll do a stop little screen share for a second. So the average width of the airline seats are usually not very wide. They're usually an average about 17 or 18 inches long. So I can show you what 17 or 18 inches looks like here. I've got a measuring tape. This is about 17 inches. It's about as wide as my shoulders are, and I don't have very big shoulders, or it's about as wide as my fingertip to my elbow, a little bit longer maybe. It's not very wide, so you have to kind of be prepared for that. And there might be someone sitting next to you on either side or on one side. It might be a super full flight. I'll show another picture here. Does this look like everyone has a lot of space on the flight? Yeah, not really. Everyone's kind of squished in. There's going to be a lot of people on the plane. So that's a good thing to know. And it's also a good reason to board early because you want to get there before everyone else gets there. You don't have to, and it's okay if you don't. But if you do able to get there early, you might be able to get a personal briefing from the flight attendant. Now, a personal briefing is where the flight attendant will come and talk to you just personally and ask if you have any questions about the airplane or about any of the safety equipment that we have for you. So we have a couple different things available for passengers for safety in the event of any sort of emergency. The first thing we have is, so we get to our seat, we stow our carry-on, we put our personal item underneath the seat. And then one of the things we have available to people for safety is the life vest. So I have a picture of what the life vest looks like. This is an inflated life vest. So it's kind of big and puffy. It's inflated with air. It's not inflated when you first get on the plane. It's underneath your seat. And you generally don't have to worry about it until the flight attendant tells you to get it out. So they're almost always this bright yellow color, and they have a little light at the top. They have an air tube that you can use to reinflate it if you need to. And it also has a little tube, a little can of CO2. And you pull it and it inflates really quickly, kind of like an airbag, okay? One of the second things we have for you is the oxygen mask. This is a picture of what the oxygen mask looks like. It's just usually yellow, sometimes a different color, little cup that goes over your nose and mouth. It has elastic poles that you can use to secure it to your face. It's attached to a bag, which will fill with oxygen, and it might not fill all the way. It might be kind of flat, and that's okay. And it has a big long tube that goes to, so this one ends in the picture, this one ends here, but in reality it's attached to a very tiny oxygen tank that is above your seat. And so this is a picture of a flight attendant who's putting the demonstration oxygen mask over her nose and mouth. She's putting the elastic tab over her head to kind of keep it secure, and and that's how it's put on. So they might ask you if you want a personal briefing. Here, we'll do a stop share. Personal briefing. But again, sometimes they don't really know the questions to ask. They might be, here, let me just do a demo for you. And then they'll be like, this is how you put on the vest, and this is how you put on the mask. That is a really good time to be, I'm blind. I can't see that well. So a different way to ask, if you can be more prepared, is to maybe ask, is there a vest that I can feel? Is there one that I can hold in my hand so I can see what it feels like? So if I need to pull it out from under my seat, I know I'm grabbing the right thing and I'm not actually pulling out someone else's sweater that fell on the floor. Or can I hold the oxygen mask? How many rows to the nearest exit? So there's a couple different exits on the plane. So you might be able to ask, how many rows is it until I get to the nearest exit? You can ask, is there anyone sitting next to me that I need to know about? And they'll be able to look at a list and say, oh yeah, you've got a full row, or maybe you've got an empty row. Super easy. You can ask, where's the bathroom? How far away is the bathroom? Which bathroom is closest to me? Lots of different questions you can ask. So, all right, so you sat down, you asked your questions, you're feeling good, other passengers are coming on. And we're gonna check on there's a couple other things on the plane that I wanna talk to you guys about. The first one is this picture that I'm gonna show you now. Can anyone tell me what this is? I might have given you a hint here at the top. So this is a seatbelt sign. And this is going to be above your head. There's going to be tons of them. So there's a couple different ways that they look like. This is a seatbelt sign here. You can see that there's hands on it. It's a glowing light. They're usually pretty small. This one here, there's two signs here. One is a sign that says no smoking. and one is a sign that says buckle your seatbelt. So right now it's kind of hard to see because this seatbelt kind of looks like it's open. There's an arrow that's kind of saying, oh, hey, buckle it. Same with this one. The seatbelt is technically open, but there's an arrow that says, hey, buckle it. So the main thing to know about the seatbelt sign is that if it's on, it means that the captain has turned it on, and he or she has turned it on because they feel like it is not safe for people to be unbuckled. And usually the reason that it's not safe to be unbuckled is that there is something called turbulence. And they call it turbulence because it's when the air can be kind of bumpy, it becomes kind of turbulent. And that's for a lot of different reasons, just weather, maybe another plane passed us and their airstream is like causing us to bump a little bit. Usually 99 times out of 100, it's because nothing's wrong. It's just the weather. Or it could be because something is a little bit wrong with one of the wings and they feel like it might get bumpy because of that. But 99 times out of 100, actually 999 times out of 1,000, it's just because the weather is a little bit bumpy and it might make the plane shake. So the captain turns on the fasten seatbelt sign when he wants everyone to be seated, when he thinks it's safer as everyone is seated with their seatbelts fastened. And then when he feels it in the middle of the flight, when he feels that it is fine, he will turn it off. It'll just go dark. And that time is a good time to get up, stretch your legs, get any items, and use the bathroom. Amy asks, doesn't the seatbelt sign make a sound? Yes, it totally does. It makes a sound like a ding, which is good. And it will also, there's an audio sound that you can listen for, and there's also a visual sound that you can listen for. And if you missed it, that's okay. Maybe you had earphones in. You can always look up and see, or a lot of times you can just ask the person sitting next to you. Be like, hey, can you tell me if the seatbelt sign is on? And they might be able to help you with that. The other thing that I want to show you, and this is available on pretty much every plane as well, is the call button, okay? So this is a button. It looks a lot different depending on what airline it is, but it's usually a little button. You can see on these ones, this one has a person pointing their finger at it, so it's pretty small, or this person has a really large hand, but it's usually pretty small. Here's another example here. There's like a little person on it, but it's also very close to the light bulb, so you might accidentally press the light bulb, which is okay. So can anyone tell me what they think the call light is for? Can anyone tell me what you think the call button does? If the seatbelt sign makes a sound, do you think the call button makes a sound? Clara says, yes, the call button makes a sound. Yeah, you're right, it totally does. Can anyone tell me what the call button is for? Monica says she thinks it lets the attendants know to help you. Donnie says, oh, it tells you if someone has seizures. Yeah, absolutely. Amy says maybe if you need help is a good press time the button. Yeah, all of those things. So it lets the flight attendants know that you need help. And so when you press it, so sometimes it makes a light, sometimes not. But when you press it, it usually makes another ding. It'll just be like ding. And what happens is there's a little screen where the flight attendants sit that lights up with your seat number. So they can say, oh, the person in 6A needs my help. And they can go let you know. So a good time to press the call button is maybe, so remember we talked about the airplanes are really crowded. There's a lot of people. Good time to press the call button is if you're having a medical problem. If someone has a seizure, that's a good time to press the call button. If you're feeling kind of sick, you're like, oh, maybe I feel a little sick, I might throw up, or I'm feeling a little nauseous, or I'm feeling a little faint. That's a good time to ring the call button. A good time to ring the call button is if the person sitting next to you is being weird. Sometimes that happens because you're sitting next to a stranger. If you're traveling by yourself, or if you're not sitting next to your friends, sometimes you might be traveling next to a stranger. And maybe, sometimes people, they like to drink alcoholic beverages in the airport and on the plane. And you're allowed to do that, but sometimes they drink too much and maybe they're being a little weird. Maybe the person is asking personal questions you don't want to answer, or maybe you just feel uncomfortable. That's a really good time to ring the call button. Let the flight attendant know that you're not comfortable and to ask if there may be a different seat that you can sit at. Monica says that she traveled once as an unaccompanied minor and people were really helpful. That is true. Sometimes, actually most of the time, again, 999 times out of 100, pretty much all the passengers that you are going to sit next to are going to be just normal. They'll be super nice. They might be willing to help you and say, oh yeah, the call light's on, or sorry, oh yeah, the seatbelt sign's on, maybe hold on a minute. A good time to use the person sitting next to you is if you do want to get up and you want to check to make sure that there's no one else in the aisle. They can say, hey, is there people in the aisle? Is there someone in the way? Can you check for me? Or you might, maybe you'll have a conversation with them. Maybe they'll be super nice and you'll become really good friends. Or maybe you'll sit down and they'll put their own headphones in and you'll never talk again. And that's okay too. But most of the time, people are very, very helpful and super willing to help you. Monica says she made sure she knew what she needed to do, and that made a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely. It really helps if you kind of know what you're doing. I fly with people all the time who have never been on a plane before, and sometimes they're younger, sometimes they're in middle school or high school, sometimes they're 20 to 30, and sometimes they're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. It's their first time on a plane, and it can be really stressful no matter what you do. So it's a really good idea to kind of know what you're getting into ahead of time. Let's see. So I want to get back to Donnie's question that he had earlier. Why do airplanes need earbuds? Airplanes don't really need earbuds. But I want to talk, so you sat down, you put your stuff away, everyone else is boarded, you took off, everything's good. Now you've got a couple hours. What are you going to do? Some airplanes have TVs. Some airplane on the back of the seat in front of you so you can watch a movie or a television show. Sometimes they have music. Sometimes the airplane has Wi-Fi. Sometimes the airplane has an outlet for you to plug your phone or your computer into. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have all those things and they don't work. The Wi-Fi's not working, or the TV's not working, or maybe they have music for you to listen to, but the earbuds that you brought don't really work with the ones on the airplane, so the flight attendants might sell you some earbuds or give you some earbuds. So sometimes that might be an option. More often than not nowadays, people just download stuff on their own electronic devices, so their own phones, their own iPads. So that's a really good thing. Remember how we talked about planning ahead? That's a really good thing to plan ahead for us, because even if your plane says, oh, we have outlets and we have Wi-Fi and you can watch all these movies, maybe they're not even working that day, because they're probably not going to delay the flight to fix those for you. So it's always a good idea to bring something that you can do. So you can bring a book, you can bring an audiobook or a TV to watch or a TV show to watch that's downloaded on your device. You can bring a craft project. I've seen people do knitting. I saw one woman have a very tiny loom that she was weaving on the entire flight. She was making a very tiny tapestry. I've seen people play card games. I've seen people fall asleep. So you can do that too. But it's always a really good idea to bring something that you can do, because you're just going to be sitting there for 3 hours pretty much. So airplanes don't need earbuds, but you might need earbuds. One thing that I would recommend bringing with you is and I recommend this to everyone, no matter what, I would recommend bringing a portable battery charger. This is the one that I have. It's pretty nondescript. It has 2 little ports on the end of it that you can plug in a USB device, so you can plug in the cord that goes to your phone or your iPad. And I recommend bringing that because even if the airplane says it has outlets, maybe they don't work. Or maybe you forget to plug it in, or it's not plugged in correctly, and you get to your destination and you're going to call an Uber, and then, oh no, your phone's dead. And then you're stuck in a strange airport. Donnie wants to ask, do all planes have free Wi-Fi? They definitely do not. In fact, I think most airlines do not have free Wi-Fi. Some airlines have free texting, so you can log onto their Wi-Fi and you can message people for free, but that's pretty much all you can do. Most airplanes have Wi-Fi, but it does cost a fee to pay for. So it really depends on the airplane. And you can Google that. It really depends on the airplane. Some airplanes don't have Wi-Fi at all, and you just got to use your imagination if you didn't plan ahead. And sometimes that's just how it is. One more thing I want to talk about so we talked about how we're going to be on this plane for several hours. It's going to be a time. How do we go to the bathroom? I'm going to do a screen share here. Does anyone know? Do airplanes have bathrooms? What do you think? The answer is yes, airplanes do have bathrooms. And this is what they look like. So if on your screen, we're doing a screen share, on the airplane, the bathroom is called the lavatory. And that's because it's on the airplane, so it's different than the bathrooms that you have. Okay, everyone says yes. Alondra says yes. Okay. Yes, airplanes do have a bathroom. And we'll do a quick screen share so I can show you what they look like. They're very small. And we'll go through this real quick because we have to end soon. They are very small. This gentleman's standing in one. We'll do another. This is what the airplane lock looks like. This is another picture of the airplane bathroom. It's very, very small. And one thing that I feel like this is even sighted people have trouble finding is the flush button. So I've got two pictures right here. Usually sometimes it looks like a lever like the one in your house and sometimes not. But this is what they look like straight up. And this is a picture of what they look like here. I would always recommend, you totally can use the lavatory in the airplane, totally fine. I would recommend using the one in the aircraft. All right, guys, we're just about done. Thank you guys all for being here. There will be a part 2 in April where we'll go over a lot of the things on packing and a lot of things about getting to the airport and getting through TSA. There's a lot more detail that we have about there. Thank you guys all for being here and I hope this will help you travel in the future.
Thank you, Kaelen. This was exciting. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a friend who popped in for Leanne and get to help close things up today. And I love all the things that I learned and how you reviewed things, Kaelen, so that I know what to do. Next time I'm on an airplane, I know what to expect and I know how I can be independent. So thank you for all that information. We hope that you learned a lot as well and that you will choose to come back next week as we go to the topic of using public transportation as a blind person 101. So we hope that you return and we'll see you then, and that you'll also return in the springtime later on for part 2 of air travel. Have a great day, everyone.